Yo, what's good, everybody, man? So today we're gonna be reacting to 40k timeline, everything you need to know. And this is a 19-minute video. I saw a video that was over 59 minutes. I was like, hell no, I ain't doing that shit. I've been told to react to that one, I believe, a few times. Nah, ain't doing that. I'll stick to the 19-minute one. But I will say this: I'm not really into it as I thought I would be. I have books that I've read, haven't finished it. I have a few books that I've read that takes place in the Warhammer 40k universe. Yeah. Once again, still haven't finished those books. And I finished Supermarine 2. Fire ass game. I loved it. But there's still so much that I don't know about it. So but there's still so much I don't know about this 40k universe. I know about the horse, but there's still so much I don't know about this universe, man. So we gotta get into it real quick. So before we get to the video, please like, subscribe. I really appreciate it, and please check out all my other trailer reactions and my other reactions and everything, man. But enough talk. Let's get to the video.
Hi friends, Warhammer is my favorite setting of all time. Duh. And I also think 40k is one of the greatest hobbies of all time. However, let's be honest, it's probably the most intimidating setting to get into, right behind the setting of any place with a cute girl to talk to. But luckily, you have me for the Warhammer, not the girls. But I'm just a silly little guy who'll help you get your foot in the door and explain all the basics that you need to know to get into the expansive lore of 40k.
Okay, let's get into it.
Also, if you're already familiar with the lore, you should still watch, because that would just be really nice. Thanks. Anyways, it all started much like our own universe, with the Big Bang and birth of the universe.
Okay.
Mostly because it is our universe, just with magic space lizards and stuff. Speaking of, a long time ago in a galaxy that's this one, magic space lizards called the Old Ones roamed the galaxy and created new species and planted the seeds of life on planets as they traveled the cosmos. Around this time, another species called the Necrontyr was beginning to gain prominence as well, but this progress was slowed due to a little affliction they had called super cancer, caused because our crappy planet's dumbass sun is a deadly laser. But despite their woes, eventually these dudes did create spacecraft and interstellar travel. But it sucked ass compared to the Old Ones. But one day they did happen upon the Old Ones and were amazed by their incredible tech, unrivaled power, and vast wisdom. So naturally, Make-A-Wish Kid, the race, asked the Old Ones to help with their struggles. But unlike John Cena, the Old Ones declined their wish. Which might seem mean, but also, the Old Ones either couldn't help, since the Necrontyr had some form of magic space cancer that was inherently tied to their species, or they didn't want to help because the Necrontyr were an evil-ass warmongering species of jerks, so giving them immortality may not have been the best idea from a species that values all life. Anyways, the Necrontyr obviously didn't like this,
yeah, they got pissed.
Began the War in Heaven.
War in Heaven.
Which is a topic in and of itself, but long story short, the Necrontyr found some star gods even older than the Old Ones. Old ones, if you will, made them bodies to talk to, allied with them since they promised the Necrontyr immortality. Yippee! Then they made the Necrontyr into soulless robot slaves. Not yippee, but also gave them the power to actually fight the Old Ones without getting instantly crushed. Yippee!
Damn.
And the Necrons and the Old Ones had the craziest, most insane war in the galaxy ever. I know you've seen images like this and went, oh yeah, wow, that's pretty crazy insano. Well, the War in Heaven makes that look like two babies fighting over a cookie.
Wow.
The Old Ones made species to aid their war effort, most notably being the Psychic Eldar and the powerful Krorks. And they seemed to be winning until some funny guys called the Enslavers started killing everyone. You see, in Warhammer, there's this little thing called...
I know they're making a Warhammer 40k movie and stuff. Well, I don't know if it's a movie or a show, but whatever they do with that, I hope the CGI and everything is fire, because the way he's describing this and the images he just showed, this could be something special if they do it right. But I've seen all the animation stuff, man, and the animations that they do are freaking fire. The cinematic trailers and everything are fire, and those really show the epic battles and everything. But I want to see some battles like this, like the War in Heaven. Like he's saying this shit was lit, like the biggest battle, bigger than all these other battles. So it's like I want to see that on the big screen, man. I don't know. We're gonna have to wait to see.
The warp, which is essentially a mirror dimension to real space, and in the time of the old ones, it was unpredictable and potentially treacherous. But
yeah,
like
definitely
in the way
treacherous.
The ocean is. It wasn't evil or malicious, it just had choppy waters and the occasional tsunami or something. But since the warp mirrors the galaxy's emotions and feelings, a literal galaxy-spanning war of divine proportions started to make the warp actually evil and malicious, to the point that it gave birth to some evil-ass monsters. So now your ocean has sea monsters, and some of those sea monsters have legs and will come into your galaxy and eat you. This upset allowed the Catan and the Necrons to gain the upper hand and exterminate the old ones, finally winning the War in Heaven.
Okay.
And all it costed was their souls, free will, and all the pleasures of life.
Yeah.
And sometime after the War in Heaven, the leader of the Necrons, Zarek the Silent King, led a rebellion and shattered the Catan into shards, which the Necrons promptly enslaved and used in their super weapons. But after defeating two god species, the Necrons were a bit tuckered out, and the old one's new species were beginning to get scary. So, the Silent King relinquished his control of the species and initiated the Great Sleep as his last order before leaving the galaxies for some possibly literal soul-searching. The Great Sleep was enacted so that the Necrons could sleep past the blossoming new species peaks, recover their strength, and then exterminate them later to reclaim the galaxy once again.
Wow.
So, with the Necrons sleeping, just like how there are a ton of AK-47s lying around after the USSR died, there are a bunch of Eldar laying around after the old ones died. Except, these AK-47s had feelings. A lot of feelings. And also, genitals. The Eldar gained dominion of the galaxy, culled the warlike Krorks, and created the greatest empire the galaxy has ever seen.
Okay.
Then, fast forward approximately
60 million years later.
And a little species of primate evolved on a little blue planet called Earth.
Oh, here we
For
go.
this section, read this book or any similar one for relevant lore on them. But a few thousand years after that lore book, humanity developed space travel and began to colonize the solar system. Then the humans develop even better space travel and leaves the solar system to colonize the galaxy, bringing on a new era of incredible scientific and technological progress, retroactively called the Dark Age of Technology.
The Dark Age of Technology.
This was the pinnacle of humanity and was an era defined by prosperity and progress as humanity began their journey to control the stars. The most notable human inventions of this time were the Age of Iron, unparalleled genetic editing techniques, and warp travel.
Okay.
In this era, the Dark Age of Technology humans were masters of gene editing and created subspecies, notably the Navigators and Squats. With the Navigator gene, warp travel was invented as a form of faster-than-light travel. Warp travel is achieved by tearing a hole in reality to enter the warp. This is useful because, in the warp, there is no regular flow of time or space, so you can essentially skip across a galaxy with skilled navigators.
Okay, yeah, basically,
the warp will be important again, so keep it in mind. But all good things come to an end, and across the galaxy in the Eldar Empire, having long reached their societal peak with no struggles, the aforementioned extreme feelings and genitals started to become an issue as they started a near species-wide age of decadence and degeneracy. Since the Eldar have such intense emotions, their actions and powerful feelings began to negatively affect the warp.
Yeah.
So the warp was beginning to get evil and wacko again, and part of this was a huge psychic awakening among the galaxy's species, most notably humanity. At first, this was cool wizard shit, but eventually it became problematic as the Eldar continued to mess up the warp, and demonic incursions began to plague humanity, and psychic wars destroyed many great civilizations. And to make matters even worse, humanity's advanced AI Men of Iron began a revolt. Unlike our world, where AI is mostly just garbage, slop content, companies cheaping out, and pathetic products for losers. So who the fuck needs an AI girlfriend? Get over it, dude. AI in 40k was actually cool robot dudes and helpful beings, but most of these Men of Iron eventually believed themselves to be superior to their creators, potentially due to the warp or perhaps just AI ego, and they led a cybernetic revolt. This apocalyptic war featured insano war machines on both sides and nearly annihilated humanity. but they were eventually able to defeat the AI at great cost.
Okay.
All AI was banned in humanity, and all the Men of Iron were exterminated. After this revolt,
Well, which was like that in real life.
storms,
Not the war,
humanity was
but
ravaged and shattered, ending their age of technology and leading to the Age of Strife. The Age of Strife was particularly defined by strife as the now mostly isolated human colonies separately developed, and a number of wars began. Humanity fought demons, xenos, and other humans. Most importantly, though, on Terra, humanity broke into clans of techno-barbarians led by great warlords. These techno-barbarians constantly fought in a sort of clash of clans, but one warlord would rise above all and begin to unify humanity once more. A little guy known as the Emperor would finally reveal himself and his legion of genetic super soldiers known as the Thunder Warriors. With his Thunder Warriors and Custody legions, the Emperor would begin the Unification Wars. Meanwhile...
So this is the Emperor, man. Yeah, this is... I didn't know shit about this before. I know about the Emperor and everything, but yeah, I didn't know anything about what happened before and everything, dog. That is freaking crazy. Basically, what happens in the universe will affect the warp, good or bad, man. And the warp, I know, is just full of craziness if it gets to that point. But Warhammer is just full of freaking war and everything now, man. It's just crazy. So I'm pretty sure the warp is just freaking cooked so far. It has a lot of evilness in the warp. So yeah, this is interesting though. I'm loving it so far.
The Elder Empire had finally reached a breaking point in which their excessive ways became so excessively excessive, it gave birth to Slaanesh, the literal god of excess, and she devoured most of the Eldar, save for the Craft Worlds, Exodites, and some other small remnants. This caused even more warp chaos, since the Chaos God ranks went up by a beefy 33%. But the Emperor foresaw the birth of Slaanesh, and he sought to conquer and reunite Terra under his new Imperium of Man. While his unification wars waged, he began developing his next genetic soldiers, the Space Marines.
The Space Marines.
While the Marines were slightly physically inferior to the Thunder Warriors were too unstable and savage to fit the Emperor's plans. So, to provide gene seed and to lead his armies, he would make 20 Primarchs, which was actually 21 due to the magic of twins. But anyways, the Primarchs were born of warp magic and genetic sorcery to be the Emperor's most powerful warriors. However, his lab partner Erda, and technically the mother of the Primarchs, scattered the Primarchs across the galaxy because she feared the life that the Emperor would make them have. Or, there's also a cool little theory that the Emperor himself scattered the Primarchs and then blamed Erda for some big scheme of his. Luckily for him, though, even with the Primarchs scattered, the Emperor was still able to develop these Astartes. But without them, there were some legions that developed gene seed mutations and other weird things. But anyways, about a century after making the Space Marines, he had the Custodies and Space Marine 1st Legion eliminate the Thunder Warriors. Most notably out Mount Ararat, and later the Palace Coup, marking the end of the Unification Wars as he now had dominion of Terra. With the unified Terra, he began to enact his grand plan to destroy chaos. Key parts of this plan were to create an imperial version of the Old One's Webway, which would eliminate the need for warp travel, and to abolish all religion, as well as making it clear that he was not a god. These would theoretically weaken the Chaos Gods enough to create a new golden age free of warp taint. And from there,
sounds
he
like a
would
good
launch
plan.
a great crusade to unify the rest of humanity. He first conquered the moon and allied with the Mechanicus of Mars to supply his armies with the equipment and vehicles needed. Throughout the crusade, he slowly reunited with his sons, and he recruited them to his cause. And, luckily for him, most of the Primarchs gained rule of their worlds or even systems, making those freebies for the Emperor's conquest.
Yeah, okay, easy work.
One of the first Primarchs he came across was the 16th Primarch, Horus Lupercal. And Horus proved to be the best Primarch of all, and the Emperor's favorite. Horus was not only a great warrior, but he was an extremely charismatic leader and skilled tactician. He was one of the most successful Primarchs in all of their conquests. He was wholly devoted to the Emperor, and he was one of the few Primarchs to be almost universally respected among his brothers. Due to this, the Emperor would eventually crown Horus War Master, taking the Emperor's place leading the Great Crusade so that the Emperor could focus on developing his secret Webway project. And this was great. Horus was the obvious pick for War Master, and he did a great job. Then, sometime after that, the Primarchs and the Emperor held the Counts of Nicaea, which resulted in the banning of the use of psychic powers. This will be important later, so keep it in mind.
Okay.
Also important is that the Primarch Lorgar wrote the Licitio Divinitatis, which declared the Emperor a god. Which, if you're paying attention,
which he didn't want that.
Against everything
yeah,
that
literally
the Emperor
against her,
stands for, so he banned Lorgar from worshipping him.
Wow.
But you know what they say, worshippers gonna worship on a warship. On the planet Acadia, Lorgar met a demon prince who convinced Lorgar to join Chaos and betray the Emperor. After doing so, he genocided the Cadians to cover his tracks, and the planet was later recolonized by loyalist Imperials.
Okay.
Then, unfortunately, one day, Horus would get mortally wounded by an evil-ass dagger, gifted to a rebel leader by the son of Lorgar, Erebus, everyone's favorite little guy. After being wounded, Horus made a pact with mysterious dark powers to survive his wound, officially beginning his fall. Magnus, being a powerful psyker, foresaw Horus's heresy and set out to tell the Emperor. The fastest way to alert his father was to, quote, do nothing wrong and astrally project himself to Terra against the Emperor's express orders not to use psyker powers under any circumstance whatsoever.
Okay.
Before even reaching the Emperor, though, Magnus would encounter a powerful psychic barrier, and in his desperation, he accepted the help of a mysterious entity to break through the barrier.
What are they doing?
But that was a trick from the god of tricks, Zeech, and breaking the barrier allowed a demonic incursion to destroy the Emperor's Webway project, essentially dooming humanity. And for
bro, what the hell is going on, bro? They're all going against what the Emperor wants. Like, how can they be so gullible and stupid? Like, I don't get it. But like you said, this leads to humanity's fall. So let's get back into it.
10 years, the Custodians and Solar Forces fought the demons off in the War in the Webway. Meanwhile, the Emperor sent Leman Russ to bring Magnus back to Terra for his transgressions. And along the way, Horus would tell Russ that the Emperor had ordered him to change Leman's orders to kill Magnus instead of detaining him. People say Leman was dumb for this, but he really had no reason to doubt it, considering that Horus was War Master, and at this point he had no reason to believe him a traitor. Plus, he hated that Magnus was so arrogant with the warp, so he happily obliged. So, at the burning of Prospero, Magnus and his 1,000 sons were thoroughly beaten by the wolves, and Russ shattered Magnus, which concretely aligned Magnus with Chaos as Tzeentch pulled him and his legion into the warp. Soon after, Horus launched the Horus Heresy at Istvan III, killing the loyalists among his legion, the Death Guard, World Eaters, and Emperors.
I realized the way I said this was kind of confusing. I mean to say, in the traitor legion, Horus had all the remaining loyalists killed. Okay.
Children. Fortunately, loyalist Death Guard, Nathaniel
what else?
World Eaters, and Emperor's children to the warp. Soon after, Horus launched the Horus Heresy at Istvan III, killing the loyalists among his legion, the Death Guard, World Eaters, and Emperor's children.
He took out.
Fortunately, loyalist Death Guard Nathaniel Garro was able to escape and warn Terra of the betrayal, causing a retaliation force to be sent by Dorn to intercept Horus on Istvan V. Nearly all of the Salamanders, Raven Guard, Word Bearers, Night Lords, Alpha Legion, Iron Warriors, and Iron Hands were sent to the planet. After some fierce fighting, the Word Bearers, Night Lords, Alpha Legion, and Iron Warriors revealed that they too were traitors and ambushed the 3 loyalist legions, killing Manus and nearly wiping out all 3 of the legions. This was crucial to Horus's efforts as the loyalist forces were essentially down 3 legions, and when he was War Master, Horus also diverted the best gear and resources to his allied traitors. This meant that the smaller traitor force was able to even the odds and gain valuable allies like half of the Mechanicus to wage war on the Imperium. So then,
this is crazy. The Horus Heresy.
Lots of Space Marine battles and Primarch drama, yada yada. This all culminated in the fateful Siege of Terra. As the Terran forces clashed with the Traitor Legion and Demon Hordes, the Emperor, Dorn, and Sanguinius teleported onto Horus's flagship to kill him once and for all.
Okay.
Sanguinius was brutally killed by Horus, and the Emperor dueled his son. Horus had the power of all 4 Chaos gods coursing through his veins.
Damn.
And he mortally wounded the Emperor. But the Emperor blasted Horus with a giant psychic attack that deleted his soul and earned the Imperium a Pyrrhic victory.
Damn.
Dorn brought the fatally wounded Emperor to Terra and put him on the Golden Throne to keep him alive, light the Astronomicon, and keep the demons at bay. The Emperor was technically alive, but he might as well have been dead, as he was essentially a big psychic battery for the throne. Once Horus was vanquished, though, the Ultramarines and Dark Angels arrived in the system, and with their huge armies, they were able to beat back the remaining traitors. Then Guilliman took control of the Imperium, enacted crucial changes to prevent another heresy of large scale, came into conflict with some of his brothers, most notably Dorn, due to said changes, but Dorn eventually relented as he didn't want a second civil war. Meanwhile, the traitors scattered and broke into warbands due to a lack of leadership and infighting. Additionally, the traitor Primarchs retreated into the warp, and the loyalist ones also went off someplace one by one, including Guilliman getting mortally wounded by a demon Fulgrim and put into stasis. And so, with the Emperor essentially dead and most of Primarchs gone, just like how George Washington's final wish was for America to not make political parties, and they honored their legendary leader by immediately ignoring
up against any
honored their legendary leader by immediately ignoring his wishes and creating the Imperial cult based on
they've been doing that the whole time. So yeah, effort.
Orgar's Licidio Divinatus, and worshipping the Emperor as a god, setting the Imperium on its path of stagnation and decline. And then after that, the Battle of the Fang, War of the Beast, Age of Apostasy, yada yada, a bunch of relatively unimportant filler to get us to our favorite setting ever, Warhammer 40k. Woo! Warhammer is a lot cooler than 30k because we got aliens, baby. Whoa! I mean, 30k also had aliens, but there were non-threat side characters after the Triumph of Olinor. But anyways, by this time, the galaxy is just crazy style, with endless wars going on all over the place.
Yeah, all the time, everywhere.
With the threat of chaos, the Orcs regained prominence, the Eldar occasionally waged wars, the Tau Empire formed, the Tyranids were attracted to the galaxy, and the Necrons finally began to wake up again. The perfect setting for a war game, with factions constantly fighting and doomed to a slow decline.
Damn.
And then, one fateful day, Abaddon finally destroyed Cadia, which had since become the second most important Imperial world after Terra, since it defended the gate of the Eye of Terror from the constant chaos forces leaking out for 10,000 years.
Damn.
By destroying Cadia, the Eye of Terror was able to split the galaxy asunder with the Great Rift, spelling a new age of grim darkness and the Imperium's inevitable doom.
Wow.
Oh, except luckily the Imperiums were able to revive Rabute Guilliman from his being dead nap, and right before he died, he luckily commissioned a giant legion of Primaris Marines who are the biggest, bestest, most powerful Marines ever, and they were able to fight back chaos. And
also on my Primaris vid, people kept saying I hate primers, except I don't. I just think they were implemented in an unsatisfying way, and I prefer the old aesthetic. Like the Jurassic Park ride at Universal. I prefer the Jurassic Park version, but I don't hate the Jurassic World update. And I even think some aspects were improved. There's good and bad, and that's just the way it is now. It's valid to prefer the old. It's also valid to like the new. Duh. Okay.
Good old Brother the Lion also woke up from his little nap a little bit later to wreck ass in Imperium Nihilus. And you can rest assured that probably all the Primarchs will come back and earn $1 billion gazillion and start Horus Heresy Part 2. People seem to want that for some reason. But yeah, that's the basics, and all you need to know to get into the lore.
Let me see. What he said?
For some reason.
My main issue with the Primarchs is they tend to take over the storyline. I don't want 40k to be a Primarch soap opera like 30k. Their models are certainly cool though. Okay.
But yeah, that's the basics, and all you need to know to get into the lore of the greatest setting of all time, Warhammer 40k. Let me know what you thought in the comments below, and I hope this video can help people get their foot into this amazing hobby. Anyways, thank you for watching, and big thanks to the patrons. That's the basics and all.
Okay, yeah, that's basically everything. I'm not gonna get into the hobby in general, but I will say this is definitely interesting. The Horus the Horus Heresy. The Horus Heresy. Yeah, that whole situation was freaking crazy. So what was his son name? I forgot what his son name was.
16th Primarch Horus Lupercal.
Horus Lupercal was so that was the one that was his favorite one, and that was supposedly the best one. Yeah, Horus was on some different timing, man. And in this part, right, let me see this part right here.
Kill him once and for all. Here, Sanguinius was brutally killed by Horus, and the Emperor dueled his son. Horus had the power of all 4 Chaos Gods coursing through his veins.
Of all 4 Chaos Gods, dog. That is freaking insane. And he literally made... I'm trying to go back. Let me see. So he made all these factions turn on these factions right here, man. This is freaking crazy. So he got all this. Like, he was on some different timing. He was on some different timing with the Horus Heresy. That whole part is fire on itself. And the Emperor, he is, well, like you say, he's still alive, but he's basically just like a psychic battery or whatever, I believe is what he said. And the Emperor, I know that the Emperor has been talked about a lot. They always, the Supermarines, and I know the Emperor has been talked about a lot. The Space Marines always say, I forgot what they always say. Damn. For the Emperor or something like that, I think that's what they say. But I gotta ask this question: can the Emperor end up coming back? Now this was made like 3 months ago, so let me see. I know they came out with something else. We're doing a little detour. Let's see. Trailers. I'm trying to see. 500 Worlds.
The Primarch Reborn demands the impossible.
They await your presence, my lord.
He commands us to reconquer the 500 worlds of Ultramar. In the 10,000 years between his death and rebirth, how many worlds have been scoured by the archenemy? Devoured by the monsters of the hive mind? Sacrificed on the altar of Exterminatus?
Bro, what is going on with this?
Fighting for a golden age that can never dawn again.
Welcome home. Rise, Demetria Titus, Master of the Watch, Captain of the Second Company.
Holy shit.
Of Ultramar!
The Primarch Reborn demands the impossible. But only in death does duty end.
Bro, what is going on? Hold on. Yeah, this video is going longer than I thought it would. So it says here that Titus is once again the captain. Now I didn't know he was originally the captain, but he's the captain of the Ultramarine Second Company. And he says that he faces a new mission with impossible odds, so he has to go after the 500 worlds. Now, what the hell does that mean? I don't know, but hey, I'm excited for it. I ain't gonna lie. This is fire, and I wonder if we're gonna because I'm pretty sure they're gonna make a third one. I'm not sure when they're gonna end up coming out with that one, or they might do a DLC, which I hope they do. they putting so much content on Space Marines 2. They might as well do a little DLC, story mode DLC, man. I don't know. It also says, in the description also says that the 500 worlds of Ultramar have been slowly gnawed away for millennia, but no more. I can't say the name. But he has decreed that they must be retaken, and the newly reordained Captain Titus is at the forefront. In their way, the living metal personification of the mind-snapping destroyer virus, Necrosaur Immentor, whose rampage has already silenced scores of worlds. Now, there's going to be another video that I get into. If this does well, I'm going to react to something talking about this whole situation, man, because this is very interesting. But the other video is really good, man. Let me know what you guys think about this down in the comments down below. I'm not sure if this reaction was good enough, but if this wasn't, let me know. I'll try to do better, because this is my first time reacting to something like this, so we're gonna see what's up, man. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe.